First here at 6, several people from the Ozarks were honored today with public safety medals. Good evening, I'm Lisa Rose. Steve will be back next week. Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe presented those awards at a special ceremony in Jefferson City. Joe McLean has the story.
Today's ceremony was about selflessness and heroism. It's meant to recognize those who put themselves in harm's way to protect others, including some who made the ultimate sacrifice.
First responders are supporting their communities and making a positive difference every day.
In a ceremony at the state's main law enforcement training center Thursday, Public Safety Director Sandra Karsten recognized 18 Missourians for putting their life on the line on behalf of their fellow citizens. 4 were awarded the Public Safety Civilian Partnership Award, given to non-public servants. 10 received the Medal of Valor for exceptional courage and heroism in an attempt to save a human life. And 9 were given the Red, White, and Blue Heart Award for first responders who were seriously or fatally injured in the line of duty.
By the dawn's early light.
Among those 9 is Dustin Brandhorst, who had been serving with the Ebenezer Fire Protection District. He died in a crash north of Springfield as he was responding to a fire.
Dustin was a friend to everybody, and being a firefighter was like his goal in life, and he absolutely loved it.
The 36-year-old was described as having the highest ethical character. His widow says his absence will be felt indefinitely.
It's special that he's being honored. You know, I wish that we didn't have to be. But I am very grateful that his service is recognized and honored.
Public Safety Director Karsten said these recognitions are an important message to the public.
The actions and the character of the individuals honored make absolutely clear the dangers first responders willingly take on behalf of others.
In Jefferson City, Joe McLean, KY3 News.